welcome to cell features, right? So don't mind what I'm typing right now, but essentially what we're going to be covering is cell. Well, let me summarize it, right? So we're going to be covering the cell theory, surface area to volume ratio, cytoskeletons, prokaryotes, eukaryotes, cytoplasms, DNA, how DNAs work, and the cell membranes. So let's get right into it, right? So starting with cell theory, we'll be able to see that cells, there are three main principles to the cell theory. One of the first one being cells come from pre-existing cells. Don't mind this, I believe I've made a grammatical error. Cells come from pre-existing cells. Cells are also the basic building form of all living organisms and organization of all living things, cells, etc. Organisms are made up from one or more cells, aka multi or single cellular. Might be eukaryote, which is a multicellular organism, or a prokaryote, which is a single-celled organism, right? So now moving on to surface area, volume ratio, and I was going to originally replace this and this with SA colon volume or just the VNR, but that would have confused a lot of people. So surface area to volume ratio is what I've ended up writing. Every time, simply the little rule of thumb is every time cell size goes down, the efficiency goes up, and the surface area to volume ratio also goes up. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe, to the best of my memory, this is how it works, right? So, also cytoskeletons. Cytoskeletons are simply a structure that helps the cell function. No, that's completely different. Simply, cytoskeletons are, they help. I'm trying to do this without looking at what I've already written, wording it and all that. By the way, if you haven't noticed, Feynman technique is the main purpose of this channel. I'm not really aiming for views, subs, or whatever it may be, right? So, anyways, cytoskeletons, they're like the structure of a cell. They're like the structural engineer type thing, right? So that's how I choose to remember it. Anyways, they help the cell. They're like mechanical support for the cell, essentially mechanical, that kind of performs the cell to perform certain things, essential things, right? So they also maintain the interior from the outside world, which is crucial. You can't have fluids mixing with polar and non-polar. I mean, sure, by the way, non-polar and polar is hydrophobic and hydrophilic. It's you'd learn about it, in the future, anyways. So simply put, cytoskeletons help the cell maintain the interior inside and keeping the outside world outside. It also helps with internal organization, provides mechanical support for the cell, and enables it to perform essential functions. I think I've summarized it perfectly right here. This is essentially it. I mean, unless you want to get into the, nits and grits, that's essentially it. Now moving on to eukaryotes and prokaryotes, you'll be able to see that I've made two different abbreviations over here, and this is ELCCSM, triple CSM. So this is the way I choose to remember it, and prokaryotes, this is the way I choose to remember it. Obviously, there's more to it than just this, so I kind of found this to be an easy way for most people. I only use this when I'm desperate or I've got 1,000 other things in my mind, aka midst of an exam. See, before I start an exam, I kind of plot all my abbreviations on an extra piece of paper to helps a lot, and I recommend you guys do too. Anyways, prokaryotes,